If you get a call from an unknown number and the caller says, "Hello, I'm Donald Trump," then hang up immediately because chances are that he might be seeking your help to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Well, jokes apart, the fact is and the truth is that the world's strongest military power is currently literally at sea. Hello, I'm Megha Prasad and welcome to Namaste World. The country that has patrolled the oceans for decades, the country that built NATO, is now calling its allies and pleading them to send some ships. And the response from much of the world has been a polite silence, or in some cases, a blunt no. Today we bring you the latest chapter of Israel-Iran war, and possibly a new chapter in the story of American power. The Strait of Hormuz is not just another sea route. It is the artery of global energy. Nearly 20% of the world's oil passes through this narrow waterway between Iran and Oman. Close it, and the global economy feels the shock. And that is exactly what Iran has effectively done. After weeks of US-Israeli strikes on Iranian targets, Tehran responded with missiles, drones and naval mines, making the strait unsafe for oil tankers. Shipping stalled, insurance costs surged, oil prices jumped, and suddenly the world's energy lifeline became a battlefield. So Washington made a move. President Donald Trump called several countries, asking them to send naval forces to help reopen the strait. In other words, build a naval coalition. But here is the twist. The coalition is not forming. The problem for Washington is that the several key US allies have already stepped back. Germany, Spain and Italy have ruled out sending the warships. Greece says it will not operate in the strait at all. Britain is talking about diplomacy rather than combat. Australia says it will not deploy its ships. Japan and South Korea are, quote-unquote, still considering. In diplomatic language, that means they are not rushing. And European leaders are saying something even more direct. They are saying, this is not our war. Think about this for a moment. For decades, American wars rarely stayed American. From Iraq to Afghanistan, NATO allies followed Washington into the battle. But today, the picture has changed. Washington is pleading and the allies are hesitating. Let's explain to you President Trump's diplomatic gamble. President Trump's argument is simple. Countries that depend on Gulf oil should protect the strait. His message to the allies is straight and blunt. If your economy depends on the route, then you should help defend it. But many governments are asking a different question. And the question is, who started this war? Because the current crisis began after US-Israeli strikes inside Iran. And many capitals feel that they were not consulted. So why should they now be sending their ships into a potential dangerous territory into war with Iran? Some European officials are exploring diplomatic options instead, even proposals involving the United Nations. Others want escort missions only after the conflict cools down, not during it. The military reality here is that there is another uncomfortable truth. Securing the Strait of Hormuz is not easy. Iran has spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. It has anti-ship missiles, naval mines, drone swarms, and fast attack boats in a narrow channel that is only 21 miles wide. This means that any naval convoy could become a very easy target. Even the US Navy cannot completely eliminate this risk, and that is why coalition support matters. Mine clearing also requires multiple specialized ships. Escort operations require dozens more. This is not a symbolic mission. It is a major military operation. But let's tell you what is the bigger geopolitical question here. Beneath this crisis lies a bigger story. For decades, the global system worked like this. America leads, allies follow. But today, the equation is shifting. Europe is much more cautious. Asia is balancing between Washington and Beijing. And many countries are simply tired of being dragged into Middle Eastern wars. The result? A strange moment in global politics. The United States still has the most powerful navy on earth, but even superpowers need coalitions, and coalition requires trust. Trust that the strategy is clear. Trust that the war is justified. Trust that the end game exists. Well, right now, many allies are not convinced. Hence, so in conclusion, one might say that the Strait of Hormuz crisis may eventually be resolved through diplomacy, through deterrence, or through force. But the real headline may not be the war itself. It may be the reaction of the world. Because for the first time in a long time, Washington is asking for help, and the allies are responding with another question. And the question is, why should we join this fight? The question alone tells you something important, not just about this war, but about the future of American power and the possibility that the age of automatic US-led coalitions may be quietly fading. We now move to our next story. For years, Dubai was not just a city. It was a strategy, a place where money could move freely, where businesses paid less tax, where the rich parked their wealth and slept peacefully. A neutral hub, a global connector, a safe harbor in a volatile region. But geography does not negotiate. Dubai sits in the Gulf, and the Gulf is now at the center of a full-scale conflict involving Iran, the US, and Israel. And this is no small conflict. It has already triggered what experts are calling the largest oil supply disruption in modern history. Suddenly, perception meets reality. And reality is uncomfortable. Let's tell you what's happening now. This is not speculation. This is escalation. Iran has launched missiles and drone strikes targeting Gulf, its infrastructure, including oil facilities in the UAE. More than 2,000 missiles and drone attacks have been reported across the region since the war began. Airspace has been shut. Dubai itself briefly closed its skies. Flights were rerouted. Airlines suspended operations. Across the Gulf, over 4,000 flights have been cancelled, disrupting global travel. And then comes the biggest shock: the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which 20% of world's oil flows. Today, traffic there has nearly collapsed. Tanker movement dropped sharply, then almost to zero. Hundreds of ships are now waiting outside the strait. Oil prices are back to above $100 per barrel. And this is not just a regional problem. This is a global shock. Now comes the real story. Not only missiles are moving, money is moving too. Wealthy investors are already shifting their assets out of Gulf, looking for safer jurisdiction. Some are moving capital closer to home markets in Asia. Others are exploring Europe because capital reacts early. Even private evacuation tells a story. At the peak of the crisis, the private jets that were exiting from the UAE costed around $250,000 American dollars. Companies are doing the same. Major global banks have temporarily shut offices, and their staff are working from home remotely. Events are being cancelled. Even Dubai's flagship sector are feeling it. Tourism, aviation, real estate, hotels are reportedly offering discounts to maintain occupancy. And the markets? Dubai's stock index has fallen sharply, reflecting investors' caution. Because when the risk rises, money pauses. Then it moves. Let's tell you who is benefiting from Dubai's problem. Money does not disappear. It relocates. And as per the reports, wealthy individuals are moving to countries like Singapore. Stable, predictable, financially disciplined, already attracting global wealth. Second on the list is Hong Kong, still deeply connected to China's economic engine. And then Thailand, a softer alternative. Lifestyle appeal, regulatory openness. There are anecdotal signs of rising interest, though not yet a full shift, but early signals matter because wealth migration begins quietly before it becomes visible. Now let's ask the question, can India step in? Because for us, this is the obvious question to ask. Can India benefit out of this? Well, yes, structurally it can. Mumbai can emerge as a financial center. Bengaluru already leads in tech. India has scale, India has talent, India has demand, but global capital asks different questions. They ask for tax efficiency, ease of doing business, infrastructure reliability, and here India struggles. High taxes, regulatory complexity, urban congestion, even India's own economy is exposed to global conflicts because it depends heavily on Gulf energy flows. So yes, India has an opportunity, but not an immediate takeover. This is not a sprint, it is a decade-long race. So what are we seeing here? A temporary disruption or a structural shift? Dubai has survived crisis before, but this time it is different because this crisis is not financial, it is geopolitical. And geopolitics changes behavior. Even Goldman Sachs has warned that prolonged conflict could push the UAE economy into contraction territory. At the same time, Gulf economies are facing recession risk if the war continues. This is no longer about growth, it is about resilience. The Dubai dream is not over. Let's be clear about it. It remains powerful, strategic, and deeply connected to global capital. But something has changed. The illusion of absolute safety, that has cracked. And in global finance, that matters because money does not chase returns alone. It chases certainty. Right now, certainty is missing, and that is enough to make money move. Thanks for watching.